Hi, Katie. I'm so happy that you're here. And we're going to talk about Queendom Come today, the spiritual money course, and all the things that you've gotten from the course. And we're just going to kind of talk about everything that you experienced. And I'm super excited. How are you?
I'm super excited also.
Yay. Awesome. Okay. So I want to ask you, I know how you found the course. You knew me, your friend did the course, but like, tell me about like before you enrolled into the course and, why you wanted to, and maybe if you had hesitation about joining the course.
Yeah. So like kind of how it was for me before I joined the course. Is that what you're
Yeah. What was it like for you before?
well, I was living paycheck to paycheck. Still at that point was making the most that I had ever made. Which still wasn't that much. And like very scarcity mindset with my money. And like yet I was still overspending, like scarcity mindset, yet I like had no control over what I was spending. And I remember I had just on our first call, I had just bought an Apple Watch for the very
Yeah.
first time, and it was like over $300. And I'm like panicking as we're on the call talking about me joining this. I'm like, oh, I
Yeah.
can't because of money. I just bought this, and I think I need to take it back because I should not have done that. I should not have spent $300 on an Apple Watch. Da 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 da. And I was like, I can't afford to do your course because how much it costs. And I'm just like, I can't do that. Like I can't. And then in our conversation, I stepped outside of that, which took a lot for me to step outside of that because I really was in my head like, I can't afford this. I cannot
Yeah.
spend my money on this.
What was it like stepping outside of that?
Slightly terrifying. Just a little bit,
What was there?
Did I make a mistake? Which was kind of the same feeling that I had about the Apple Watch. Like, oh my God, I just made a big mistake. What did I do? Like, I just like signed up for this. Now I'm on the
Oh,
hook
after
for
you
it.
registered.
Yep. Like I'm
Yeah.
on the hook for it. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Like, what if it doesn't work? That was the big thing. Like, what if I just spent this money and it doesn't work?
I do remember you saying that.
Yeah.
I remember you saying you didn't know if it was going to work for you because it had really worked for your friend.
Yep.
And she got a lot out of it.
Yep.
Yeah. Interesting.
But I was very much like, well, gone over 30 years. Like, and this is how it is. Kind of stuck in that mindset of like,
Yeah. And what was, I remember we talked before you registered the night you did. And you had said, we talked about how you wanted, you wanted to make more money and you wanted a different job where you had more responsibility. You felt like you were kind of just like floating through the job and getting paid to really not do much.
yeah.
And so do you remember what you wrote down? Because we talked about like what you want to make, and I think I had you write it down and like slap it where you could see it,
Yeah.
right?
I think it was, that the exact numbers kind of fuzzy now, but I know it was
I
at
feel like
least
it was
100,000.
93, wasn't
Was it
it?
93?
93,000?
Why 93?
I
It
have
may have been
no idea,
93,000.
but that's the
No,
number that comes to me.
that might be right. But where the heck did I get 93,000 from?
I mean, you don't have to know where
Yeah.
it came from. Sometimes it's just like those numbers just come to us.
Yep.
I feel like everything is delivered through the divine, even when we don't really know it.
Yeah.
Especially when you're like, where did that come from? Anyways, so how did you like really, like, what's the difference between when you look at before you joined Queendom Come, the spiritual money course, like the feelings that you would feel around money versus now how you feel. Because I know, because feeling matters like a lot in
Yeah.
terms of money. So I just love to hear what you think.
Well, like before I felt, and I didn't even realize that this was like a feeling of mine, but that I didn't deserve to make like a lot of money, like that was the best that I could get. And it was kind of like I had a cap, and I was lucky to be making what I was making, one. And then also that I was not good with money. Like I felt like I could not manage money at all. Like it would just constantly come in and then go right out. And
Mhm.
like there was no saving. Like, so there was
Yeah.
this just like fear, a lot of fear around money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's it like now? Like, I know with with budgeting, what's it like now? Because you weren't budgeting,
No.
but that's something we actually really looked at during the course, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I feel a lot more freedom around my money. Whereas like before, another feel like kind of like when you have your head in the sand. It's like, I don't want to know. I don't want to see. It's like we had
Yeah.
talked about the budget of like, I don't want you to tell me what to do.
And isn't that what kind of like caused the fear?
Yeah. Like, I
Was
don't want to
actually not looking.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Cause I had no idea what was going on. I'm like, it's not negative. Like we're good. I'm fine. And then I would just watch my like credit cards stack up and then the interest be charged and all of that. Um, and like, so now I just like, like there is more of a sense of peace. And like, if I want to go on a vacation, like, I'm not worried like, oh my God, that's going to be so expensive. Like going and staying in that Airbnb is going to be way too much. Or like my rent went up 300, almost $300 when I renewed my lease. And like, granted, I didn't want to pay that much more money, but it wasn't like a, oh my God, how am I
Yeah.
going to survive?
Mhm. Yeah, I think we need to let everybody in on like what happened 2 months in to the course, because I think it will give some context around just how you were dealing with money differently too. So at the
Yeah.
beginning, before the night you registered for the course, right? You set out your intention
Yeah.
of 93,000. What were you making at the time?
Well, and I actually think that was set during the QTR that I had done originally.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
that was like
So
my
you
goal in
did the quantum time release, which is also known as the subconscious block clearing workshop.
Yep.
You did that before.
Like a week before, I think.
Yeah, like a week before, and then
Yep.
you had set that
Yep.
amount. And then we
Yeah.
talked about it on the call that
And
night.
I put it. Mhm.
So yeah, so what were you making before?
63,000 a
Okay,
year.
63,000. You asked for 93. Okay, cool. So what happened 2 months into the spiritual money course?
Well, I wasn't really looking for a new role. I was kind of a little bit of that whole fear thing had me stay at my current company, and like I loved the team. But then a friend reached out and they were like, "Hey, my company's hiring. Like you should apply."
Mhm.
And I was like, "Oh, I don't know." And then I was like, "Okay, send me the link to apply." He's like, "No, just send me your resume. I already talked to my manager." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." So I sent it. And what's funny is that when I had the call with the manager, he's like, "Yeah, the role, it was already filled." But like, or no, he told me in an email that it was filled, but we were still going to do our touch base or our like connect. Yeah, our call. And so during that call, we had a great call. And I asked him, I was like, "Well, when's the next time a role is going to be open? I'm interested." He's like, "Well, funny enough, last night, the person backed out. So the role's open again. And I'd like to offer it to you."
Wow.
And so, like the night before we talked, the person had backed out that was going to start.
Wow.
Mhm. And so then I set up a call with the recruiter to talk about comp, and was offered so much money, like so much money. And like I even negotiate, like push, like they said the first offer, and I'm like,
What was
and
the first offer?
60 an hour. And then I pushed
Full-time would be,
I don't know. So it's not salaried, it's hourly. So,
okay.
and I can tell you what, like the next, and then I asked for 65 an hour, and they came back with 69, which comes out to like 140. So I over doubled my income.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And you didn't even expect that.
No. No.
So what do you,
I like maybe 100,000, maybe 100.
140,000 from 63,000 to 140,000 a year. What do you think? What do you think happened? What shifted?
Well, I did a crap ton of inner work. Like, I did the hard work and like, the assignments that you had in your course and like the coaching with you.
Showed up to
All
the
of
calls
that.
every day.
Yep. I showed up to
Every
all of the
time.
calls
Yeah.
and like did the assignments so we could talk about the assignments. And it was nice and confronting.
Nice and confronting. We'll say it that way.
But I just kind of like,
and what do you think is the value in that kind of work? I'm curious your thoughts. Obviously,
there's a lot of value. Yeah.
but
There's a lot of value out of doing like the inner work, is that like it not only brought this into my life, but like it attracted other things into my life. And then also just, I was living in this like lower, this is what I deserve, this is what all I'm capable of. Like I had hit the ceiling that I imposed on myself
Mhm.
based on my past and like things that happened with my family and all of that. And so by doing that, like I broke that ceiling that I had put on myself, like the limit.
Mm,
Yeah.
it's so amazing.
Mhm.
Can you tell me about like one of the most profound assignments that you experienced, or maybe just one of the most eye-opening calls that you can remember, or, you know, conversations that took place during that 4 months?
Well, that 7 to 9 year cycle.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Yeah, that one I really like because just seeing the patterns.
Mhm.
uh I think the one that I did was 7 years, because you had
Mhm.
us look at both 7 years
Yeah, and you
and
see which one you kind of fall on, like
yeah.
what's happening, just for everybody, what's happening with your life at right now in this moment, and then you count backwards 7 years, because everything goes in cycles, like the moon, menstruation, like lots of things are on a cycle. So we look at, yeah, so we look at that and what's going on to kind of connect it back to a cycle. Do you remember? I think I remember. You care to share?
Yeah, I just remembered that every 7 years I would have a big life change.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm like making my computer move. Like working the highest paying job, splitting up with my son's father, going off to college, moving from Seattle to Graham, like all of those lined up with the 7 years.
Yeah, and you take it all the way back as
Yep.
far as you can before you aren't in human
Yep.
existence. And where was that you took it back to?
When I was 4, and I had
Uh-huh.
to call my mom because I don't remember anything about when I was 4. And she just told me like the way it was, like money was tight. And she had just started dating my stepdad, I think when I was 3. And like she felt like she couldn't like build up any vacation time because she was having to like drop me off at daycare. I was the first one dropped off, the last one picked up. because
Mm.
she had to commute and all of that.
Mhm.
And like, uh, we lived in a cheap and pretty sketchy apartment in Seattle,
Mhm.
because that's what she could afford. And so like that was my first experience with it. And then a man came in.
Yeah. So there was like a big life change. And we tend
Oh,
to
whoa.
what?
I just realized that that was also a big life change, that the stepdad came in. It wasn't just that money was tight, but like,
Yeah, it was all of it.
yeah, like I didn't
Yeah.
connect that until just now. Huh.
Yeah, and in this particular assignment, like you're looking at yourself, but what you have to realize is that we're programmed by our parents. And so whatever they were kind of dealing with at that time, you kind of take that on and you can repeat even the cycles that your parents were repeating.
Yep.
That's that's what they call ancestral inheritance, and how when if you don't become conscious of it, which is exactly what we're doing in the course,
Yep.
it will continue on because you're not aware of it. So that's really awesome. So what do you think moving forward, like how that helps you?
Well, now I'm really curious what's going to happen when I turn 30. Actually, oh my goodness,
Well,
I
you
know what I'm doing.
already have had like a really big life change right
I
now.
have, but also when I'm 39, guess what's going to happen? I already know, like Xander graduates from high school. Like,
Oh,
like
is that another 7 years?
in 7 years, my
Yeah.
son will be 18 and graduating from high school. So I already
Get
know
that
one of the
book.
big
I'm
changes.
telling you, get that book. And for everybody else, The Big Leap. Not that I'm promoting that, but it's just
Oh,
we
that's so
we only
funny.
allow ourselves to experience a certain amount of love and abundance and success before we hit our glass ceiling.
Yeah.
And this is happening all the time for people who are really interested in growing all the time, like us.
Yep.
And it will just continue to happen. So unless you're aware of it, you can subconsciously sabotage it.
Yep. You can.
Okay, so what else happened? Because I want to ask about, so what people don't often understand, but this is like really, really, it's true for everybody, not just women. But we, love and money have a lot to do with each other. So tell me about what happened. What else happened during the course in terms of love?
Well, after the second quantum time release that I did, where I released like some really epic shit and like a super limiting belief.
Yeah, which I want to say what that is. She released a limiting belief called I don't matter.
No, I am worthless. I don't
I'm
matter. Like the first
worthless.
one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge. That's
Mhm.
huge.
Yeah.
Okay, what happened right after that?
2 days later, I started talking to my boyfriend, my current boyfriend, who's amazing, and like I attracted him into my life, and we are super in alignment in so many areas. And I'm just like, where did you come from? Like a little bit of that, like, how did this happen? Like I got this awesome new job, and on the same day that I started that job is when I started talking to him.
Oh, really?
The same day, yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'll always remember
Those
when
are
we
the
started
kinds of
talking.
things that you've got to be aware of
Yeah.
because it was all happening at once.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And he's like super like loving
Oh, yeah, he is.
and like all the things that you wanted.
Hmm. All the things that I wanted in a partner. Like he
Yeah.
is.
So
Mm.
not that I want this to be like a coaching session, but like really allow yourself to take it all in, because I think that's part of what happens when we self-sabotage is like we see that it's happening and we're like enjoying it, but we don't really like actually stop to take it in and
Yeah.
be like, okay, and get used to it.
I've been forcing myself to do that.
Good.
Because
Good.
I have moments of like, this is my life. What?
Okay, I want to talk about the victim archetype.
Okay.
Okay, so tell me about that time, if you will. How do I want to say this? Basically, that I called you out on the victim archetype. You might have gotten mad at me, and how did that serve you? How did it show up? How is it different now? That's a lot of questions, but
That's a lot of questions. Well, yeah, I remember that conversation.
yeah.
It was great. It was not. I was sharing something and you just straight up called me out for being a victim or sounding like I was being a victim.
I do want to correct you, yeah, because it's like the victim archetype is, it's like a place where you are. It's not necessarily who you are. At least that's how I like to approach it. It's how you're being in a way. Yeah.
And it was the way that I was being and sharing about something. I can't remember exactly what I was sharing about, but I do remember.
I think it was about before you left your job, the old job, and how you had made your boss wrong or something like that.
No, I had told her I was very upset and then had a conversation that didn't go the right way, didn't go well. And then I had to go back to her and like clean it up.
Right, because you had said some stuff about like, oh, you didn't give me.
It wasn't fair. Like I haven't gotten this opportunity and da 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 da. And so I just kind of, yeah.
And what did you see about that after you looked at it?
That I could have like had that conversation a different way. Like I could have like talked to her earlier. I kind of just didn't say anything until I was really frustrated.
So you didn't ask for what you actually wanted, like in a straightforward way?
Yeah. No, I just like my frustration boiled over and then she just heard my frustration. And then like when I was talking to you about it, probably was still my frustration of like, oh, this person's getting all of these things. I'm not getting those things. This isn't fair.
And where's the, like, where do you see the victim? I know this is an uncomfortable conversation.
Yeah.
It just naturally is.
Yep. Well, I was blaming externally for me not having what I didn't even ask for. Like, I was just like, why? Like, you should just give that to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know how that works? You just give to me. I don't have to ask. No, that's not how it works.
Wow, yeah. Thank you for being so honest, seriously, and for everybody, because that's what it is. And you know that this was like my dominant archetype in life before I realized it.
Yeah.
The victim. And it was like everything externally was somebody else's fault, or some institution, or some law, or something else outside me. And that's how it shows up.
Yep.
And I want to know, like, how did that affect you? Like with your budget, for example.
Well, I was still I was also like a victim to that of like, it was kind of the whole, I don't want to be told what to do. Like,
like the budget was going to tell you what to do, but what did you realize about that?
But it wasn't the budget telling me what to do. It was me deciding what to do based on like knowing where my money is. Like, there's a big difference. It's not telling me what to do. Like if I want to go buy something, I can still go buy something. I just might have to like look a little bit closer, like just being aware of it.
So is it a stark difference with like how you budget now? Like, do you look at your budget every day? Is it empowering?
Yeah.
Is that what you're doing? Like you're literally looking at your budget every day and it's empowering.
Yeah. And I'm looking at my money and I'm actually like saving money now. I'm like paying off like credit cards. I'm like doing the things.
Yeah. I want to know about that. I want to know about that because I remember right before you ended the course, you had said, you had made some goals that you wanted to pay such and such amount on your credit cards and save a certain amount. So how are you doing there?
Oh, great. I think that it was by the end of this year too. I've already paid like 10,000 on credit cards.
10,000 off on credit cards?
I think so.
And mind you,
Maybe 9.
let's see, it's September 29th, 2022, and you started the course like April, I think you joined April like 13th,
Yep. When I made this goal in
2022.
August? No, July. I
When
think it
you
was in
did?
July. When
Yeah.
I declared that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I
So
think
you
it's
paid off 10,000 and how much have you saved?
4.
Cool.
Yeah.
And that's just
I was
like,
focusing more on like the credit cards first.
yeah, that's fine. That's great.
Yeah.
You're doing both.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm doing both. Every paycheck.
How old
I'm
are you, Katie?
32.
Have you ever budgeted like this?
No.
How does it feel?
A lot better. I wish that I would have like done this shit 10 years ago. I'd be in a way different place right now than I am right now. But everything happens for a reason, and like I had to go through that to be here right now. Like I would
Totally.
like I know all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So is there anything else that you just like really, really want to share about?
Well, mostly just like the space that you create and like the assignments that you provide. Like if you just do them, like you don't realize all of like that's also a cool part of inner work. You don't realize all the things that have happened for you internally until like something new pops up.
Wow. Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, how am I going to interact with this situation? And then I'm really good at now at like, oh, this is probably how I would have reacted. And I'm just like aware of how I'm reacting now versus how I have reacted before.
Wow. Yeah, that's really great. So you would say that the course really opened your eyes, or I guess the way I like to say it is increased your own self-awareness and consciousness around how you think, how you communicate, how you feel, and then your behavior.
Yeah. Because we even had like a conversation, like I had a conversation when I was very sick. It didn't, oh wait, no, that was also something like that I got from your course. That I got sick like right after I got my new, like the offer for my new job, and the stress of trying to tell my old job, like
you were moving from upstairs to downstairs.
And then also had to give my notice to my job, and like had so much anxiety leading up to telling them. And then I got really sick, like right after I moved. And I don't really get sick that often. Not like this, like it was, I could not breathe, like I had to use neti pot and all of that. And then I think in one of your calls, we talked about that in the Heal Your Body book, and like looked at the was it cold? I think it was cold that we looked at, or something. We looked at something.
Your sinuses, I think.
Yeah. And then you were like, just, like essentially that night after we got off the call, I went into my living room. I like closed the door because I had a door now. And I like lit some candles. I did some deep breathing. I said the affirmation over and over again. I did some yoga. And then the next morning, I was able to breathe again. And it had
and that was going on for like a week and nothing was working.
Yes. It was so annoying.
And I think what the probable cause out of the book that you're talking about was that was a lot going on.
Yeah.
That there was just too much going on.
Yep.
And you hadn't allowed yourself to just
sit and process.
And then you did, and it went away.
Yeah.
But just the act of like being conscious of what was actually happening and why your body was reacting that way,
Yeah.
had it disappear.
Jeez, my body was like screaming at me and I was like, stop, I don't have, like, I can't do this right now.
Yeah, and I remember just one more thing. I remember that you had realized you had learned a powerful lesson in communication as well, because you had had a conversation while you were sick.
Yep. And I was just like,
And
yep,
and
okay.
you had made a decision
Yep.
that you actually weren't happy about. And one of the things you realize is that you freeze.
Oh
when
yeah.
there's like certain situations. And so you actually stepped out of your comfort zone, right? To go and actually clean that up.
Yep.
And
Yeah, because we had a conversation
be-
while I was sick and using
yeah,
a neti pot, and I was just like, okay, because I wanted the
yeah.
conversation to be over with.
Appeasing
Yep.
people. Like,
Yep.
yes, go
Yep.
away. Yep,
And
I'll
then,
do it.
and then the next day, like, had a oh no, not the next day. Once I was feeling better, then
Yeah.
I like re-had the conversation. The outcome was still the same, but I was actually like present for the conversation and like a participant in it instead of just like, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what did you learn about yourself in terms of communication with that? Anything?
Well, it's helpful if like the people around me know that like I freeze, because then it well, at least this is what I've experienced with like my
You
boyfriend.
told them that, right?
Yes. Yep.
They,
And so it like
you
kind
went
of,
and had the conversation. You
yeah, and it kind of
actually,
like freed up the space. And then even like with my boyfriend, he knows now that that's something that I do, and he'll be like, okay, I think you're freezing right now. Can we like actually talk about this? And so it like also helps me like, oh, okay, get out of that. It's like a nice little nudge.
yeah. Do you feel like it must feel like in a way you're expressing yourself more, that you're allowing people to know who you are through
Yeah.
communication, through vulnerable communication, actually.
Yep. Yeah.
So I know there's so many times during the course when you were in that we were like, we don't know what this is, but it's definitely about money. We talk about sex, we talk about God, we talk about healing your body, we talk about
So
everything.
much.
Yeah. And just look at the results that you got. Like, it's
I
just
know.
incredible. And I could not be more happy for you and your new relationship and just the abundance everywhere in your life that you're experiencing. And I cannot wait to, like, a year from now, come back and do this again and see where you're at. But
Oh, that'll be awesome.
yeah, I love you so much, Kaden.
Love you too.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.